Kanpai! Welcome, one and all, to episode 189 of Kanpai Cast. Today we're talking about a genre deep dive, which we haven't done in a year or so, because we don't have guests to do it with. It's really depressing. If you want to be on Kanpai Cast, come on, talk to Xeno and see if he can hook you up. Okay, we unfortunately have exhausted all of Xeno's contacts 3 times.
No,
and I don't have any contacts because I am antisocial.
I've been too busy. I've not.
I'm not accusing you.
That.
I'm not accusing you.
Yeah, you are.
No,
I fucking can't make him happy at all.
So
shit for him, and what happens to me?
He's been extra hard at work this week. Because before we start into our genre deep dive, which is going to be fantasy, we're going to do a little bit of housekeeping, and we're going to show off exactly what Xeno's been hard at work on, because we're on Spotify now. After a painful
I can't believe
journey.
you wrote this.
Excellent.
Of course I did.
To City Z and back. Xeno has managed to get Kanpai Cast on Spotify. You can find the link on our website and in the description below. So if you know anyone that would like to listen to an anime podcast but won't unless it's on Spotify, please link them to it. It's down there now. Xeno has worked extra hard. We're very proud of him. Round of applause, seal of approval, Mexican wave.
I had to recreate the account 3 times. Spotify
Wow, really?
is awful. I'm not kidding. Right? So the only way you can add the RSS feed is on account creation. Right?
What?
And it's just like, they don't make it obvious at all. And I'm like, how the hell do I... Yeah, so...
That is the stupidest system I've ever heard of.
It's very bare
Indeed.
bones, you can tell.
Hashtag not sponsored. So, if you would do the usual little wiggle beyond this, the like, comment, subscribe, there's the audio version, which, again, on most Asia podcast sections, just plug in our RSS feed. And then the Discords you can find, Patreon, streaming, it's all down in the description, links, and we would love to hear from you about the stuff we natter about. With one final thing to do for the housekeeping is we're planning for a new episode. This is something that got Xeno's decided to pitch with us as well. Again, his brain is so brainy, he could use it as a throne to sit on at this point. I
won't, but, you know.
So we're planning an episode on the D&D character alignment episode. We've been talking internally about doing an episode where you, the audience, provide us with your anime recommendations that represent the essence of a D&D character alignment grid. Not specific characters, the anime itself. So essentially we're talking about which anime personifies, say, lawful good, true neutral, etc. For example, one may say that Trigun is the embodiment of chaotic good, with Vash being the lovable goofball that he is in the post-apocalyptic hellscape that he's in. Another example would be Chainsaw Man for neutral evil. I mean, if you know, you know. We recognise this as completely subjective. It is entirely down to perception on each of the alignments. So in the description below, there is a Google form that allows you to choose the different anime of your choice, and when we have enough alignment grids to talk about, we'll run the episode. It's a very simple form.
I don't think
all you do
say
is
Chainsaw Man is neutral evil based just on the anime, so...
anyway,
you know.
Anyway, that's not...
If you know, you know.
Yeah, but that's manga knowledge.
Side
You can't bring
tangents.
manga knowledge.
Side tangents.
But we do say this is subjective, Nasuth.
Yeah.
So it's a very simple form. All you do is select which alignment you're using and put your anime of choice in. There's no complex. You don't have to go in and make the grid yourself. We can possibly spare some time, maybe do that, or find a way to do that automatically. You never know.
I'm about halfway through filling mine out because I'm agonizing over each and every choice.
Yeah. Well, with enough audience participation, maybe it won't even matter.
I'll also highlight that you can edit these, right? we do leave a spot for people to give their reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
However, you don't have to fill that in, right? The only thing you have to fill in is the 9 animes you choose. That's all. Mm-hmm. And if you're
Indeed.
oh, I can't be bothered to fill all of this in, you can do it in parts. We're not rushing to do the episode immediately because we want enough participants first.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So it is entirely audience participation driven. We will let anybody that's actually taking part know when the actual deadline is, when we decide on it, because it's open-ended for now. You have all the time in the world.
Yeah. And if you really want to see a bunch on there, make sure you share the forum with your friends and let them fill it out too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So then, shall we move on? Begin our
I think so.
Discussion. So, the usual format with our topic deep dives is we go into what the topic, what the genre is, and what we feel really exemplifies that topic. Okay, what we look for individually, just for our own personal opinions, and then we get into examples.
Mm-hmm.
So, Xeno, what does fantasy mean to you?
In all honesty, to me, fantasy is a more... I would argue either a medieval or a Renaissance period, right? So, not modern day or future set or anything like that. And I would say that there are elements that have mystery to them, like how on earth does that work? Because it's sort of like a pseudo magic system, or basically something that isn't explained by science. Yeah, that makes sense.
I would agree.
Yeah, I think those are the main cruxi foundation for a fantasy for me personally. I think Naz is trying to find the name of a show he can't remember.
Yeah, don't mind me.
Well, I think he's about to ask you the same question then.
No. Since Naz is a bit busy, I'll step in.
Sure.
With me, fantasy doesn't necessarily have to rely on a time period. I think that technology can be part of fantasy. Specifically in categories where the magic doesn't have to be explained at all. Like the original Star Wars trilogy. I would argue that's more space fantasy than space sci-fi.
True.
Yeah.
Because they don't really go into it. They don't go into a lot of sci-fi jargon. It's not Star Trek in that respect.
Depends
it doesn't
on if you include things like urban fantasy as fantasy, which I kind of think you should.
I believe you can, but
It's a subgenre of fantasy, but it is still fantasy.
Yes. The key things that create fantasy to me are the adventure aspect, going on a journey in a setting that contains magic and the unknown and is escapism at its purest. Okay? Other races might come into this, like elves or space elves. You need a nebulous enemy that can become more real over time. It's like a Dark Lord or another foreign force that has to come in. That does make it a far more open topic. But Xeno's give me a look.
Yeah, I'm giving him a look. So I think I think I want to get into this more later. But to me personally, fantasy, sci-fantasy, and sci-fi are 3 distinctly separate genres, right? It's like, to me, fantasy and sci-fantasy are like oil and water. They don't mix.
Okay, sir. Where would you put Demon Lord 2099 then?
Where would I put Demon Lord 2099?
Yeah.
Cyberpunk.
Fuck no.
But it has magic.
I would a fantasy world that gets merged with a regular world, so it is clearly.
I would either say, if you were to twist my arm, right, out of those three, 100% I'd say sci-fantasy.
But it is sci-fantasy that has clear, like, fantasy roots in it as well.
True, but it also has clear science fiction.
There are literal demons and goddesses.
And the science is basically indistinguishable from magic.
Yes, which is why it can't fall under sci-fi, but because of the science element to how
vague
technology
nod towards science.
No. That's only the vague nod towards things like the weird furnace thing, right? Like
even the thing in the back of their neck and the fact that they use Aether instead of Wi-Fi and things like that. It's a vague nod towards science.
Do they use Aether for?
Yes, they use Aether Ethernet instead of Internet.
Yes.
Wait. Ethernet. They call it Ethernet.
I'm pretty sure they called it Ethernet.
Yes, as opposed to Ethernet.
Because like that just sounds like
it does. Yeah. But think about it. That's how the one of the characters literally hacks things. Is she uses magical Aether waves to hack technology?
But to me, you can't. Okay. Do you think that you can have sci-fi and fantasy together in a show? And I'm talking like purebred sci-fi here, not like
no. I don't believe you can. Right. I don't believe that going pure sci-fi is helpful to actual fantasy.
I think you can.
As I said, the key to fantasy is that you've got to suspend your disbelief a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it's magic.
Yeah.
You can, no matter how much you explain magic scientifically, it's still magic.
And that whole idea of sci-fi and fantasy being two substances that don't mix. This is why sci-fantasy. Sorry, my bad. I may have mixed the terms up there. Yeah, so this is why sci-fantasy exists, because fantasy and sci-fi don't mix.
Yeah, it's a interesting thing, because Nasuth would probably argue that any sufficiently advanced science can be indistinguishable from magic.
Yes, but that's not necessarily the same. It's a good line.
No, but it's not the same thing. Magic is a force that is supposed to be, in a fantasy setting, inexplicable. You can have a fantasy sci-fi, okay, in the sense that if you are sufficiently technologically advanced, you can code everything as magic and then lord it over a less technologically advanced species. Heck, I think that's the whole basis of Stargate.
I also think you could have a story where it's a hard sci-fi world and like one person shows up who can use magic and it's completely inexplicable to everyone else. I think you could have that, and it wouldn't be a problem.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said you had an example.
No, I don't have an example of that. No, I think you could have that.
I think another side of like stuff like this is, how is this usable by one person but no one else? Case in point, this is kind of leaning a little bit into the whole isekai stuff, but it's kind of inevitable. With Mushoku Tensei, there's a big factor that Rudeus can use castless magic. Like it's like incantationless magic.
Yeah, incantationless.
There you go. So he doesn't need to perform an incantation for the spell to fire off. He just has to think it could, right? The counterpoint to this, the counterpoint is that we can see other parts of the world where their magic is stronger than his, and I'm fine with him being not the peak of this wonderful thing. But
he's also not the only one who can do incantationless magic. It's just a case of most people can't get it in their brains.
Yeah. But the other side is that there are so many shows that are like, isekais or what have you, especially isekais, where they have a skill that is so superior to everyone else. They are the peak of the magic wielders, and it's just like, but you come from another world, right? You have an understanding of it. You've effectively brought this with you. A case in point is the
Knights and Magic,
The Exorcist. No. The Exorcist. Because in Knights of Magic, other people can use.
But they don't understand it the way magic. He does because he's a programmer.
But the Exorcist was reincarnated in another world. Some generic isekai. Don't watch it. The whole point is that the main character brings in more shamanistic Japanese shamanism than anything else that is nowhere else in this world, right? It does not exist beyond this one kid, and this one kid, spoiler alert, don't watch it. This one kid turns out to be the Demon Lord, and it's just like, oh yeah, the peak of fucking magic. Fucking fantastic, awesome. Yeah, and that's my counterpoint.
I think the show that this is so I'm pretty sure this is the one I'm looking for. The show that exemplifies the fantasy genre, like the archetypal fantasy genre, is I think that's Record of Lodoss War.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I mean, this is old school fantasy. This is D&D, high fantasy, elves and swordsmen and magicians and dragons and all that fun stuff in an anime. Yeah. Not isekai, not weird, unexplained magical systems that make no sense. People just make circles appear in the air. No, this is very down to earth, real high fantasy. And I think it's important to mention, at least in any fantasy discussion, something like this, where you've got that, like, it's not just your basic it's like almost the counterpoint to your generic isekai show.
Yes.
Right. But are we moving away entirely from the comments?
The sci fantasy discussion.
Yeah.
This is more to again. This is what each of us what each of us looks for in fantasy. It's our opinions on what is and isn't fantasy.
No, I get that. I'm just asking.
So in my opinion, sci fantasy can exist quite happily alongside regular fantasy, but as the counter to that, something like Record of Lodoss War, as Nasuth said, is a very good counter to those overpowered isekai style fantasies, and actually needs to be mentioned in this kind of setting as well.
I get what Xeno's saying. He wants to come to a conclusion on, is sci fantasy or is it its own thing?
I mean, let's not make a decision now, right? The biggest point was that, to me, that transition was so seamless, right? I just wanted to make sure that we're saying to the audience, we'll come back to the sci fantasy thing.
I think it's worth coming back to, something we can discuss as we go along, because I think we disagree on it. I think that, to me, it's fine to have them together. Or it's fine to lump sci fantasy in with fantasy. It just depends on, like, again, you've got high sci fantasy and you've got high fantasy, but they're both fantasy.
Yeah.
And let's not forget. I was going to say, let's not forget the existence of steampunk in terms of fantasy, where you don't just have a fantasy, but it starts getting magical tech a la the Industrial Revolution. Pistols, guns, steam engines instead of carts, but driven by magic.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like the Executioner and her way of life kind of has that thing going on where they've got trains and street lights and all that stuff, but it's all powered by magic. It's all powered by aether.
Right,
which
but
is
they
really
only
standard
have
for
those things
electricity.
because... Well, I mean, the thing is that they only have that stuff because, like, isekai characters brought it. Yeah, so
I would... Yeah. I'd give an example of the World's Greatest Talker runs the World's Best Clan. In that one, it's not actually... It's part of the world building, but it's not actually directly brought up. His only defense if he gets caught out is that he has a gun. And that's because in this world, they're actually in the Industrial Revolution age. The magic in this actually has some... they have electricity through harvesting lightning using magic. They have batteries and things that exist. And, they have indoor plumbing. Because of this.
Which show is this?
It was from a couple seasons back. Greatest Talker runs
back, I watched it. 1 second.
Trying to find it.
It's like dude's
sorry,
father was also
Notorious Talker.
There we go.
Yeah, that's the one.
Right, most.
I think dude's father was also a talker or something, but talker's like considered weakest.
No. Talker is the weakest one. They are basically it's a hero class.
Yeah.
And his grandfather was one of the greatest
that's what it was,
actual adventuring hero classes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so in this world, they have clothes in the same way that they have armor, but they're more modern. They have modern plumbing. They have modern conveniences that would have been around in the Renaissance. And it's still definitely a fantasy world where you go on adventures. You have a guild of adventurers that you join up to and make parties and clans in. But it's gone beyond carts and horses, and you then have the start of vehicles. So they have actual zeppelins that some of the greatest clan actually owns a zeppelin that they ride on and live on.
So probably more late Victorian
above the cities
rather than Renaissance, but still.
Yeah, it's well Victorian, yeah. But that's the kind of setting. It's still fantasy, but they're using magic to develop technology that gives them more modern conveniences.
I actually want to talk about some of the criticisms that fantasy gets, or more, the closer it gets to modern day, the worse it is. And the greatest example of this is Attack on Titan.
Sorry, that's a take, because the closer it gets to modern day, the worse it is. Interesting. Yeah. Let's go through that.
So I can't remember the full details, because the problem is I haven't watched all of Attack on Titan. But the problem that people have is things like, why don't more traditional based guns exist and things like this? Why is it still weird melee combat like Spider-Man wished like he didn't have a hangover or something? But
they do.
So but the technology, they have cannons.
Yeah.
Right? But the technology that allows them to make the omnidirectional gear,
movement gear,
is basically everything they need to make a gun. And it's
but
they do go into this.
You'd have to basically have snipers working to get behind.
You'd have to have
a Titan to hit their weak point, which is the nape of the neck, right? Mm-hmm. So in theory, the movement gear makes it easier to get around behind them, and then at that point you might as well melee them anyway.
Just because I feel it is technically a spoiler, if we drop the spoilers on,
Oh, sure.
Explanation.
Okay, you're going to talk about season 4 and 5, aren't you?
No, not really season 4 and 5. I mean, it's been around for a while, but it is technically still a spoiler. The reason you have to go for the nape of the neck is because the real body's wrapped around the spinal cord there.
Yeah.
But it's you even see in the show where they're not where inexperienced people aren't even able to attack it well enough with these to take it out. So the idea would be that you wouldn't specifically need a gun, because they have guns. You know, one of them that's not.
Do they?
That's not.
They
Yes,
do.
one of them even does a Kurt Cobain impression with one in the show.
Yeah.
In the first season.
Okay.
But you need something with enough power to penetrate to where the body
Titan
is.
armor. Yeah, they even go into why the blades look like those snap-up scalpels. It's because they need to be able to interchange them, because the skin of the Titans actually corrodes them and blunts them. So you'd need something exceptionally powerful, more modern military nowadays kind of powerful, to make a difference than the muskets they have there.
Yeah, but like the fact that I'm pretty sure, like, to me, you can turn off the spoilers now.
Absolutely.
So Thaylien just highlighted the fact that they have like muskets and things like this in Attack on Titan. But the thing is, like, in for the omnidirectional tool, so what movement gear? Yeah. Like, in order for it to work, like the physics involved would be able to solve all your problems, and it's just like, it just feels weird that the solution that they've gone for is to turn people into Beyblades than a better gun.
Like, you won't hear me defend the omnidirectional gear, because it is
stupid.
Like, it's like watching the old Spider-Man cartoon, or any old Spider-Man, and being like, what is he latching onto? There is no building there where he's shooting his... It's that sort of thing to me. It feels very...
Though it does have that wonderful shock value in the early seasons, like where they're zipping around and the female Titan literally grabs person and twirls him around so hard that he breaks. That's the kind of thing that actually made me want to watch the show, was the fact that they did not hold back with the violence that came with those.
There is also in the final season, I don't want to go into why or how, but there are a lot more guns and a lot more military equipment, and you see how kind of useless it is against Titans.
Mm-hmm.
But is it stuff like flintlock pistols and muskets, or is it stuff like AK-47s?
It's stuff like tanks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you see how kind of useless it is against Titans.
Yeah. So what you kind of need, if you're going to if you want to actually replace the 3D movement gear and the actual swords, or the mechanical swords, with something, it would have to be more akin to a tank with a ballista on it that fires scythe blades.
I was just thinking, now fuck it, let's just get a ballista, right, and get some circular saws on that shit, right?
Yeah,
you know, like
let's get the Doom Eternal Destroyer blade going.
Yeah,
the one that literally fires a boom, a whole arc cannon.
What?
You not played that? Not seen that?
Blade? What? Oh, sorry. I thought you meant the blade that he has. Blade, yeah. No,
not that.
I'm with you.
The Archabex.
I thought you were actually going to say, no, let's get the Doom Dark Ages shield and shove that on a fucking crossbow.
No.
I'm pretty sure that would still be better.
No spoilers, please.
Huh? I haven't even fucking started it. I don't own it. So, have we not seen any of the promotional material?
I have, but also that's the only thing I've seen. as the original promotional material. I've avoided all other references. The only thing I know it has beyond the shield and the thing is a gun that crushes skulls and flings them at the enemy.
What? Anyway, moving on. I do think though
is
that
Doom fantasy?
Sci fantasy.
Sci fantasy.
So, but I do feel though that the closer you get to modern day representations of stuff, the harder it is to justify a lot of things. If I may, I want to highlight one of my biggest problems with this is.
I have a counterpoint after that. No, go ahead.
Well, I mean, it's a discussion mostly with you, Nasuth, because it's the Eminence in Shadow.
Oh, yeah.
Well, like, so I don't understand how the world setting they have in the Eminence in Shadow. This is the best bloody picture to start on, by the way. In the Eminence in Shadow, they start in like the countryside in a more medieval town and everything, and they're still using horse-drawn carriages, but in the city they have things like trams, and it's just
okay, but there was a time, 100 years ago, when that was actually the case. You would have trains and stuff, and in big cities, you might have more of a transition towards trolleys and
we lost
cars
you for a
and
second.
things.
We lost. Yeah,
I didn't lose it.
In cities we have. Okay, then I lost you. Right.
Okay. London literally had trolley cars and tram cars and
well, out in the countryside, you still have horse and carriage.
Wait, did it?
Yes, and so did major cities in America.
Xeno doesn't know his history.
I know
America 100%. Well, yes, I don't remember London having a tram system in any way, shape, or form.
Not so much trams, but they were kind of trolleys.
Trolleys, yeah.
Well, even so, trolleys.
But the point is, even if they did that in America, that still proves the point that you can have that system, both those systems at the same, especially rural versus city. City is always ahead of the rural areas. So I don't see that as a problem.
Hold on, just waiting for Thaylien to look shit up. Okay, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But like, it just feels to me like, why don't we have any form of other locomotion?
So the electric tram on London streets in the early 1900s brought cheap transport to the masses. They were joined in 1930s by electric-powered trolley buses. And there's actually a
meanwhile, you still also had horse and carriage.
Early
1900s.
When were cars brought in?
Cars were brought in after the Second World War.
Like 1920s, 1930s.
They're properly introduced. There were still horse and carts on London streets until the 1920s.
I take it back. I genuinely thought the automotive vehicle came before the trolley. Wait, hold on. Is the trolley the horse-drawn one?
No, the electric-powered ones with the overhead things.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Fine.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't necessarily care too much about defending Eminence in Shadow because it's a comedy series.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I get what you're saying. Yeah.
No, I mean, the biggest problem I have is the simple fact that, like, where technology is mixing.
Yeah.
And okay, fine, it's not that bad in the Eminence in Shadow, but there are other shows that is like, this is too modern. Like it's you shouldn't have the MP3 player before the cassette Walkman. It's like how does one elaborate on that? I see
your problem now. I thought it was just a case of magic in a technological setting. But I see a question actually. Now.
Think about that.
It's more a case of you have this technology.
Remember what some older shows used to think that future tech would have, right? There was, I think one of the Macross movies showed that a character was using wireless earbuds,
right,
but still had a cassette player.
Yeah.
It was a miniaturized one. So some technology we can imagine jumping generations, some we can't. But
no,
so
that's
the thing. If you look at some, it might actually make far more sense to have the equivalent of an MP3 player before you have cassette tapes, because the idea of magnetically charging plastic didn't occur to them in the first place. However, magically charging crystal, which would then be a circuit board,
right?
Would.
No, but the difference here is the fact that in shows like Attack on Titan, like where you've got springs, like, you know, that are used to create. Hold on, why aren't we trying springs on like anything else? Right? Why are we still riding around on horses? We could make a fucking Jeep. I think that was actually one of the counterpoints as well. Like, why aren't we using any form of locomotion? Right? We're still on horsebacks.
You have got a point until you consider they're one city. They don't need to go anywhere.
Yeah, they're one city and they're constantly under attack. They don't necessarily have.
No, but this is the problem though, that the space between the walls is absolutely freaking massive.
Yeah,
right?
It's like New York. It's like if the entire city of New York was contained inside walls. It's almost like 5 separate cities inside one massive city.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But they consider they do have a rail system around the walls for getting cannons in place.
That's true.
Do they?
Yes. That's how the cannons move to get behind the thing. It's on a rail system.
Oh, okay. Well, it's
so it only applies to the war effort. If it doesn't apply to the war effort, then they don't need it there.
No, but they also had. This is where they had the town that was next to the wall in the first episode when Eren was a kid and everything that got breached. Right, that wall was nowhere near the rest of the city. Right,
it wasn't.
So, like,
there's a lot of arable land out there that they had to give up because of that breach.
Yeah, but that's in part the point. Is just the fact that they have, you know, they still have Omni Gears, but like, you know, no way to actually quickly traverse between locations en masse.
If you don't assume that they don't believe the walls are going to get breached, then why would they?
Yeah, you have to remember that before that point, they'd only been fighting sort of brainless titans. They hadn't had to encounter any of the really smart ones. Anyway,
unique ones.
Attack on Titan is dumb anyway.
Yeah.
Yes, right, okay. But I'm saying there are reasons that could explain that situation. They're not always good reasons, but they are reasons. Good reasons.
Anyway, where do you want to go now?
So, I would like to take up the because you mentioned about shows that just make magical circles appear, right?
Yes,
but
I did.
One of the best animes in recent years has been a fantasy anime that makes circles appear in the air, and that's Frieren.
Right.
Okay, but is that a case of they just like they raise their hands and circles appear, or is it a case of they have to do something?
They raise their sticks and the circles appear.
Oh, okay.
Magic stuff.
Yeah.
But
Frieren's a wonderful fantasy show to me. I mean, beyond the fact that it's just a really good show overall. But in terms of fantasy, it's high fantasy with the proper journey towards a specific goal, with the party being formed, with characters they're picking up and losing along the way, the specific roles they have to fulfill, even their magic. While their magic isn't very well explained, it is treated as there is one type of magic that you do for, you know, levitation, destruction, all these other things, and there is the type of magic that's handed down from the gods, which is more miracles, healing, and the kind of stuff that needs to be affecting other people in a more positive way. So cures and things are often the result of faith. The priesthood. And so having an actual priest along was actually helping, where currently they only have Frieren and Fern as 2 regular mages, very good ones, but regular mages, and a frontliner, a warrior to balance them out. It's taken very seriously in that respect, where they have these defined roles that you go into when you're going off on an adventure. And I really like that idea.
But I think that really comes... I think all of this stems from strategy, right? The one of my favorite thoughts behind why do you not just go to a dungeon with nothing but a group of mages, right? Why do you go with a warrior and exactly yeah. So the big reason is that you can't rely on the mage to just handle absolutely everything, right? They might not have enough spells in the day. Yeah, you might. You might be taken off guard. It might be close quarters combat. They might rob you of your ability to. They might silence you or whatever. They might knock you out. This is the big crux for why there should be diversity within the group dynamic, is because you need to fill these different opportunities, these different scenarios, right? And this is one of the better reasons why shows like Frieren, Delicious in Dungeon, Goblin Slayer, like all these shows do such a good job, is because they diversify the limitations. They think about the limitations of what's going on, and they actually take account for that. It's a serious take on the high fantasy idea. But when you take those limitations off, and one character can do literally fucking everything, it becomes unbelievable. It becomes unrealistic, and it becomes boring, right? Unless you guys have an alternative example, I want to throw Overlord under the bus, because
I'm always ready to throw Overlord under the bus.
Well, I don't like to just continuously rag on the same shows again and again and again. But again, the problem is the fact that because Ainz is so powerful, he could literally do anything and everything himself, right? He is seen taking on an entire invading kingdom's army by summoning, was it like 3 or 4 gibbering monstrosities? His army literally had to do nothing. They just had to stand there and watch while he did everything. And it takes away from the appeal, right?
It takes away something that the shows need, which is for their characters to have meaning for being there, and not just as a hype squad for the main character.
Yep.
You want to?
No. If you've got more points, continue. I want to go after that.
Yeah. So the ones that I think take this idea and actually do something with it are ones that are genuinely parodies of their genres. And in just as an idea, it's not exactly a fantasy one, is like Mob Psycho, where Mob is just that powerful. But in the same way that Saitama is not exactly really care, but Mob is the one that's doing it, but he doesn't want to be that one guy. And so he makes sure that everybody else around him is doing stuff. And he lets other people take the spotlight and lets them do stuff, because yes, he's the one that's ultimately solving all the problems and doing everything, but not. But in a way that makes it clear that he doesn't want to be in that role. Compare that to Anos Voldegord, who wants to be who is that man and wants to be that man.
I don't know about that.
Hmm?
Oh, he wants to be that man.
I don't think Anos has. Wait, sorry. I thought you meant Ainz. My bad. I take it back.
Oh yeah. So Ainz doesn't want to be that man, but the show just makes it clear that he is, and there's nothing to compete with that.
I think Ainz does want to be that man, but he doesn't know how properly.
I mean, yeah, Ainz doesn't have the motivation in the first place.
Yeah, he has zero motivation to do anything. He's just like, what?
No, he's trying to find other players in the world.
Oh, fuck off.
There are shows that make an attempt, at giving the other characters something more important, like the Slime Isekai.
Which one?
The Slime Isekai.
Reincarnated
as a slime. Yes. Not Slime 300, which is the Isekai where she kills slimes. Okay, fair enough. So, in that one, of course, he is the alpha and omega. He's the most powerful one. He's going to be the one that does the most important stuff. But at least they try. They give fights to the other characters. Heck, even Gobta, who's the weakest character from the very start of the show, they give him a fight where he actually genuinely surprises people. Like, oh yeah, no, he's been training. He actually has gotten that strong now that he could stand up to any one of the human warriors, apart from their magical heroes, their magical isekai heroes that they brought in. And it's. You actually see a little bit. It's not brilliant, but it's an attempt at least. Whereas
I think my problem with shows like Is It Wrong? No, sorry. That time I got reincarnated as a slime is the fact that it really harkens to a lot of shonen stereotypes with weird, overly flashy combat sequences that don't need to be that drawn out and things like this. And it makes me harken back to the days of Indiana Jones, where someone's swinging a sword around like a madman and he just reaches out, pulls out his revolver and shoots them.
I love that was totally something they had to do because he was sick, and yet it's such a good scene.
Yeah. To be honest though, I heard it it wasn't because he was sick. It turns out it was because they were sick. But
he had diarrhea or something.
Tired.
No, the whole cast had it. Like the whole cast. But I heard it's because he was supposed to whip the sword out of the hand and things like that.
Yes.
And he turned to Lucas
Spielberg.
and said was it Spielberg?
Spielberg.
I can't remember who it was. He turned to Spielberg then and goes, I have a revolver on my hip. Why am I not just shooting him?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's mental though. It's
okay. I have a show that exemplifies actually several. I was scrolling through our 20 pages of fantasy
25.
anime. 25. And came across
some
one
of these
that
do not
actually,
deserve to be on this list. I
know.
I don't know why the fucking...
Why is A-Mame in there? Why is Cowboy Bebop? Anyway.
Cowboy Bebop should not be in there.
So I saw Ragna Crimson. And I realized that actually has several of the problems that we're talking about. It's got even though technically speaking there are other powerful characters in there, no one is as powerful as Ragna. No one. they even I managed to explain away the guns to Xeno, so those are fine. But the vehicles kind of make no. The modern looking vehicles, when they're just barely getting into an industrial society, make no sense. What else have we talked about? So we got the overpowered MC. We got the weird clash of technology with magic. Oh, there was something else. I can't remember now. Oh well. Anyway, Ragna Crimson.
Science fiction.
No, no, not really. I mean, even though technically yes, because they don't really have magic. It's just super advanced science. But it doesn't really come into play until way late in the show. Anyway. Yeah, I like Ragna Crimson, but it does have a lot of these problems. Like, you have to ignore some shit to get through it.
I think one of my biggest problems is that over the years, like, you know, I watched all of Dragon Ball Z and the likes of that. And when I was younger, I loved Dragon Ball Z. I thought it was absolutely amazing. You know, I really enjoyed Bleach for what it was.
The fight scenes, that was the other one. About to be talking about Dragon Ball Z. The drawn out fight scenes that are there just for the action.
Yes.
You know, I used to like Naruto. I couldn't get into One Piece, and I've realized very rapidly as the years have gone on that I cannot stand overly showboaty fight scenes anymore. Like they're all the fucking like My Hero Academia, right?
What about the Shibuya incident when Sukuna was fighting Volcano Head dude?
Yes.
Because that was really flashy, but I also felt like they kind of earned it in a weird way.
Not just that, but it was also over really bloody quickly, if memory serves.
It's not like a full episode thing. It was a half episode. It was a decent chunk of an episode, but one episode.
As opposed to 5 episodes. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, at like a minimum sort of 5 episode. You know, it's like, I mean, fuck, you see things like Dragon Ball Z where Goku's fighting Frieza for like an entire season or 2. I can't. No, actually, no. You know, it's got to be more than 1 core. No, it was like 15
episodes.
Because. Yeah, it's got to be more than 1 core, because he held up his arms for 11 episodes. And it's just like, can you just imagine 3 months of holding up your arms? Like, I don't know how, that show stayed on the air. That'd drive me insane. Right? And
people had more time back in the 90s.
And I feel that, as a result... Like, I've become so much more, I don't know if there's a better word than jaded, but, you know, jaded nonetheless. And I just, like, the second the fights become over-embellished wrestling matches, as soon as the fights become wrestling matches, I'm done. I don't want to know.
So... It's a really interesting point when you stop to think about some of them. I mean, I can see Nasuth had right there on the previous screen of his, right in the middle, Scrap Princess.
Yeah.
Now that one, I would have said, is an absolutely great example of a classic high fantasy, until you realise it's a sci-fi.
Yeah.
So, because they take those, it's not an overpowered main character, it's not not even overpowered other characters, really. They have defined roles of the warriors, the mages, the scouts, and so on. And they go on a proper adventure. And when they find out what's at the end of it, it turns out they've just kind of... What's a good word for it? Truman showed the entire thing.
Matrix.
Nasuth, you make such a good censor bar.
She's not actually naked there. It's fine.
I know, but it's so cool that you've done that. Well done. Yeah. I'm just thinking of the different good, bad, and indifferent versions of the fantasy genre that we've got.
I want to know.
It's remarkable.
How you guys would classify well, I guess Xeno, because he's probably the only other one who's seen it. Summertime rendering. I think that's this one.
Yeah.
How would you classify, because it is clearly a fantasy.
It's urban fantasy at best.
Yeah.
Because it's urban legends. Right. You know, it's like
I don't know if urban fantasy's right though. Just
well,
because
no,
it's an urban legend and it's set in a modern village doesn't necessarily make it urban fantasy.
Yeah, it's a modern village that's disconnected by way of being on an island, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, but that's neither here nor there. Like,
it is actually, Xeno.
No,
I think
because mysterious disappearances, I'd say, as an urban fantasy, is in a city.
Yes, but that's the thing, is that's definitely urban fantasy. So what I'm saying is that this, by virtue of being on its own little secluded island, might actually differentiate it from urban fantasy in that way. Because yes, it's a small town, but because it wouldn't have that integration with city life, and it has that isolation factor that, you know, it's not even like a tiny town out in the country. It's on an island.
It's almost like the city, the
don't
village
know what
is
point
just
you're trying to make
backdrop.
here.
It's almost like the village is just a backdrop for what's happening, rather than an integral part of the story, the same way other urban fantasies have the setting.
But that's the case with most urban fantasies.
Is it?
Yeah.
I think that many of the urban fantasies are essential to being in the urban setting, so that they have the convenience of the cityscape to actually make it part of their environment they're moving through.
Name one.
Being able to go to different parts of the city, being able to go to different parts of the town, actually is essential to many of the plots of an urban fantasy.
Name one. Solo leveling.
Name one. Fuck off! Solo leveling. Name a good one.
Okay. Hang on. Oh no, I was gonna name another, but you wouldn't call it good.
Go on.
Okay, Project.
I wouldn't call that urban fantasy in any way, shape, or form.
Oh, so the running magic battles in the streets with swords and fire magic and
no, but that can be done literally anywhere.
Defying.
That's the people. Not. There's like no weird monsters or
the fact that you even have this massive thing about the plot that I had to disprove to you by pointing out the time difference. Where they had the school as a separate location to the main city, right? And showed you that was actually relevant to the thing. And the actual location you go to are relevant to the urban fantasy.
That doesn't make it an urban fantasy in the slightest. Right? There's no mysterious shit that goes bump in the night. There's no fanciful elements. It's just like, oh, they're just kids. Okay, so is My Hero Academia an urban fantasy?
No, that's because they're actually trying to be superheroes.
What?
They're trying to be superheroes.
Right, and the kids in K Project are
not trying to be superheroes. They've got
members.
magical powers.
Yeah, they're just being gang members.
Some are being security force. There's an entire tower full of people that are the secret police of the city, run by the mayor. And there's a thing that goes bump in the night in the form of a guy that can take over other people's bodies.
He's not wrong.
The Colourless King.
No, okay.
And when they go into fights, giant swords appear over their heads from the thing.
Nasuth, would you call Charlotte? Would you call Charlotte an urban fantasy?
Yeah, actually, in the same way I would call Tasuuketsu an urban fantasy, yeah.
So would you call... Which one's Tasuuketsu?
It's the one on screen right now. It's Fate of the Majority.
I have no idea what this one
is.
is.
It's the Death Game one where they've got like this weird emperor who...
Do not care.
Okay.
Do not care. You said Death Game. Don't care. Right.
Well, kind of a Death Game.
Right. Right. But the whole point is, right?
It's more like Alice in Borderland.
You'd call Charlotte, right, an urban fantasy. Would you call My Hero Academia an urban fantasy? Same premise. It's just one is accepted, one isn't.
Yeah, but
again, I would separate. Technically, as long as you count superheroes as fantasy, yes.
Yeah, I think yes.
Right. Okay. As long as you say that what you call it, to me, if you classify them both as the same thing, it doesn't matter what the thing is, right? I'm fine with it, right? So if you're saying My Hero Academia,
I think urban fantasy.
Shy?
Yes.
The superhero
Shy
one where it's actually magical girls, but they're superheroes, and they're not all girls.
Oh yeah, I'd probably say like nearly any. Oh god, have we just stumbled on something? Is Magical Girl is Magical Girl? Oh no, I wouldn't count that. Right, and I can elaborate, but is the generic Magical Girl show just urban fantasy?
Sailor Moon and urban fantasy.
I think it depends on if it's set in the modern day or not. But yeah, generally speaking, Madoka Magica, urban fantasy. Sailor Moon, urban fantasy.
Yes.
So the reason why I wouldn't say Magical Girl Spec Ops Asuka is urban fantasy is you have that otherworldly element to it. Like literally, you got warring factions across worlds, right? So it's like Gate in that regard. Except for they're fantasy. Coming to us. How is Gate an urban fantasy?
Partially urban fantasy, partially not. Depends on
partially urban fantasy, partially high fantasy.
It's all right. Anyway, but the whole point is that they don't deal with anything that isn't these extraterrestrial monsters, right?
Right.
That's that. It's they don't fight each other. They don't. It is just
Jujutsu Kaisen.
Oh, that's 100% an urban fantasy.
Yeah,
exactly.
100%. Yeah. Because again, it's the curses and where does this stuff come from? It's the stuff that goes
people,
bump in
therefore
the night.
Cities. Yeah.
Inspector, definitely urban fantasy.
You can't deny that one. But anyway, we were talking.
Tokyo?
I don't want to think about that. So
Tenchi in Love.
Wait, which one was that one? First two movies were called Tenchi in Love, weren't they?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't remember.
Tenchi Forever.
Tenchi Forever. That's the one. Yes.
But that was awful. Right. But anywho, right. We've kind of rambled.
Darling?
Yes, it's an urban fantasy because that would never happen in real life.
Off.
That would never happen in real life.
You're trying to tell me that a cosplay model would never fall in love with their seamstress, right?
Yes. Well, with a Hina doll manufacturer.
He is her seamstress. Okay, we're kind of derailing a bit here.
Yeah.
So I want to talk back. I want to talk about an element to fantasy that is often shied away from in communities, and it's typically familiar in low fantasy. I have no idea if I can actually scroll through these 25 pages and actually find the damn thing. Yes, I can. And this all revolves around. And I'm not going to go into any form of detail. Illegal no time. And I don't understand society's aversion of having monsters doing monstrous things, right? Fantasy is possibly the most produced for genre out there in all its incarnations: sci-fantasy, urban fantasy, low fantasy, high fantasy. It's spun so many subgenres within it. but you get things like sci-fi, and sci-fi is barely touched upon. I honestly think a lot of that stems from the fact that... sorry, this is a minor tangent, I apologize. I honestly think a lot of people hear sci-fi and they're like, oh, it's boring learning stuff, I don't like that. But when people hear fantasy, it's like, I can switch my brain off and it's amazing. Cough solo loving. But there is an element to fantasy that people will run away from. And this is monsters doing monstrous things.
I think that's true for any genre, though. I don't think people like being confronted on that aspect, because it's a part of life that we try to pretend doesn't exist, even though it still exists today, and not just in fantasy settings. And so the less people have to think about it, the more they can pretend it's not a thing that could happen to them, you know?
I mean...
Because it's in sci-fi, you don't see a lot of it either. In action, you don't see, you know, any genre. It's not limited to just fantasy. Any genre other than chicken neckwear, you're very unlikely to see that sort of thing happening.
Well, odd you say this, because it is actually one of the main plot points to the actually really good show of Police in a Pod, right?
Okay, but that's a police show. That's different.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
that might be the one
solving
genre.
a crime, where that's kind of it makes sense and is generally accepted.
Yeah.
But so one of the reasons why I like Goblin Slayer so much is we spoke about it before with Frieren and things. I love the diversity in the group mechanic, right? They are a group that's designed to overcome nearly any situation. They can
it's your typical high fantasy party.
Yes, but in a low fantasy setting, I would say. I mean, would you? I classify Goblin Slayer as low fantasy than high.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. Even though they've got very clearly defined
because
roles.
they're all short.
Yes. Yeah. Even though they've all got clearly defined roles, it's more about... It plays out more like an isekai fantasy than something like Lodoss War. You know, where it's this big overarching quest to go on a big adventure, you know? It's little things that they're dealing with. Even though it's not really, but it is. It's personal things.
But I feel that, I mean, you know, look at one of the most critically acclaimed fantasy TV shows that's come out of the West. Yep, that's right. Xeno's gonna rag on it again. Game of Thrones, right? And like that couldn't shove incest in the faces of the audience. Yeah, well, I think incest was the bigger one. It's like, you know, it couldn't stop for like 5 bloody seconds, right? And, you know, society had no issue with that whatsoever. But monsters...
I suggest you look up the search terms for porn in the Western world sometime and see just how high that particular tag is.
Porn.
Yeah, for corn. Yeah.
You know what? I'd love you to just
step sibling stuff in there. You know.
Oh, okay.
Not really step sibling, but quote unquote step sibling.
So Japan has an interest in NTR, and the West has an interest
incest and Futanari. That's it. You know,
in breaking the established rules of Alabama for the last 50 years since they banned that.
Anyway, right. But I do feel, though, that it kind of... I like fantasy when the world is so fucked up. I mean, what's the best example of a fucked up fantasy? Berserk.
Yes.
I have a question. If they could design Guts' armor or Guts' weaponry and stuff, his crossbow, how come they couldn't just make guns? Why don't they use guns to kill demons?
They did.
No. I don't see any
Guts
guns.
Also, do you have any idea how early that crossbow existed, Nasuth? In human history?
Yeah.
The repeating hand-crank crossbow existed in China before the regular crossbow existed in Europe. The regular crossbow existed in Europe.
But because we're talking about Berserk now, and I hate the fact that Berserker Gluttony is on screen. So with Guts, he does have the hand crank crossbow, but that actually gets replaced with an actual arm.
Well, how come he's the only one who gets it? Shouldn't the rest of the world have? He
doesn't have an arm. No, actually no, because it's made by a certain blacksmith that...
Yeah, but if they can make it for him, why doesn't that technology exist? Sorry, I'm just giving you a hard time over the Attack on Titan shit.
There's a big difference between one renegade and an entire fucking army, Nasuth. But again, like, Berserk is critically
military funding should have...
What?
Military funding should have funded more guns, you're right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
More guns.
Ones that fired razor blades.
Yep.
Doom shields.
Anyway, sorry.
But but I mean, again, Berserk, critically acclaimed. It's absolutely amazing. And it doesn't pull its punches. Hilariously, a lot of people say that if you enjoy Berserk, you should stop around like episode 17. Right? Just don't watch the end of the series. That's my point. That is what I say. Like, it's boring in fucking Game of Thrones before episode 17. Episode 17 is where it gets good.
But I will say I don't think episode 17 and beyond would have nearly as much of an impact without all that boring stuff beforehand.
Well, yes, but hilariously, it was a lot shorter in the manga.
Yeah.
They added in like 3 more war campaigns in the manga, and it was just in the anime. And it was just like, did we not? Could we not?
Fair enough.
You got some really cool stuff that you've left out entirely.
But they got to talk about the Kaborowitz family and their secret 300-year technique.
Fuck off! That came up once in the entire manga. That only came up once. Right. And then in the anime, it came up like 5 times. It was painful. It was so painful.
It's like I have read the entirety of the online available Summer Spider So What manga.
Yeah.
And they still haven't met the RS of her class.
Fuck off, really?
Mm-hmm. It's just the anime did it. Ridiculous.
Okay. I don't know where you guys want to go next. Maybe we should circle back to the whole sci-fantasy side of things.
Could do. Because there's a few sci-fantasies that do exist and are not too bad in that respect. But I think what we really want to do is...
Actually, no, hang on. Sorry, Thaylien. Before we move on from this, I wanna bring up one fantasy where the world is kind of fucked up, but also like has that really high, hopeful, almost high fantasy feel, and that's Skeleton Knight. Where you've got
fucked up.
You have the guy who keeps elven sex slaves, Xeno. You've got the entire underground trade in elves. You've got the orc that nearly no times somebody. You've got all this fucked up stuff right near the beginning. He almost goes after the little girl and her. It may not be an orc. It's some monster.
It's a human.
It's a human.
No, it's a person.
No. You're thinking of the princess.
Caravan. Yeah.
I'm talking about before that. The village. The village is getting attacked.
There's also the fact that a neighbouring country is releasing magically enhanced monsters into the wild to terrorize towns and villages.
So there's a lot of dark stuff going on there, but then you've got this image, right? This also personifies the show, where it's just Skeleton Knight having fun. So it's a weird mix of both of those things, and I think it comes off. It does it pretty well, but that was the only other point I wanted to add.
Yeah, actually, that's what I was going to lead into is why does isekai so often get it wrong? Because we touched on it earlier with the overpowered protagonists things and the so why does isekai get fantasy wrong so often? Okay, and is it purely because of the protagonists?
I genuinely think it is. It's because typically with isekais, the main protagonist is kind of listfully going through the world. The worlds are often very well defined, but
it's literally just a power fantasy.
Why is Nier Automata in here? That couldn't be further from fantasy if it tried. Anyway, so I
know she's in my fantasies.
I think the big thing with isekais is just the simple fact that the self-insert characters are so bland and generic that they're just not interesting to follow.
Yeah.
It's like...
It's the same reason I gave up on the game that must not be named. Because it just turned into kind of a bland power fantasy.
Yeah. It's like people don't...
It's all flash and no substance.
I genuinely wonder... So, oddly enough, it came to... So the Anime Awards happened today, the day of recording this. And... do you know what anime won Anime of the Year?
Solo Leveling.
I do not.
Yeah, Solo Leveling.
I knew it.
Oh, bugger that.
Yeah, it's bloody Solo Leveling. And it's because it's stupidly popular.
Was it at least for Season 2 and not Season 1?
No, it was Season 1.
Oh, fuck that.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
Like, Season 2 still wouldn't have been great, but at least I could have forgiven them for it. Season 1 is unforgivable.
The absolute batshit crazy thing is, right, it's the 2024 Anime Awards, and everyone that's saying, yes, Solo Leveling won, they're citing it because of Season 2. And it's like, no, that's 2025, right? That started airing in January 2025. You can't count that.
Yep.
Do you remember that the Japanese call it Spring 2024?
What?
This is technically from because winter 2024 extends over into that, and then spring.
This is the
2024 Crunchyroll. Yes, but again, Japanese, where they actually source the anime from, still calls this season 2024 spring season.
Sort of the same way they call After Midnight same, like if it's the 13th after midnight, then they call it the 12th after midnight.
What? Sorry. What do you want about?
So you say Solo Leveling started this year, but it technically in Japan is still a season of 2024 anime.
No, it's not.
I'm not sure that's true, but
it's winter 2025. It starts winter, right? Yes, it does. The season starts winter, spring, summer, fall, right?
Then explain why winter is in the previous year. Anyway,
what do you mean?
I'm fairly sure I'm fairly sure that this is listed as the spring spring season from 2024 because some of the anime starts just before January.
What? I don't know.
In the same way that when something starts after midnight on Sundays, they call it the day before at 2500.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's the way they think about things is different to the way we think about things in that essential way that they link it to the year before, because technically it's for them staying up to watch it comes in from that day rather than from the next day.
Right. To help the situation, the period of review, right, was inclusive of fall 2023, right? So September 2023 all the way and including December 2024, right?
Okay.
That was the period of review. Season 2 of Solo Leveling did not air until January 2025.
Correct.
Yeah?
I'm just thinking, just as I'm aware that I just have to point out that the reason they could be including it is because that they're not actually going specifically by those dates, but by the fact that the Japanese still call this a spring season for 2024.
I'm not sure that's true, actually.
Which part, Nasuth?
Well, spring is from March to May, summer is from June to August, fall is from September, or autumn is from September to November, and winter is from December to February. I'm not sure Thaylien's right on this.
No, but that's the seasons. We're talking about TV.
I know, but why wouldn't the TV seasons go based on anyway?
I don't fucking know, man. It's the whole point is it's fucking people are citing it over the fucking second season, and second season isn't included in the review period. That's the whole fucking point.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. Yep, that we can agree on. Yes.
Okay. Jeez. I can't even fucking remember what my damn point was anymore.
The anime awards were today, and that Solo Leveling won it.
Yeah.
Was taken on from
Frieren and Apothecary Diary.
I know you were talking on something to do with these the overpowered protagonists and the bad fantasy from isekai stuff.
That does sound vaguely familiar. So yeah, I is there an appeal for these overpowered self-insert characters?
Yeah, like, absolutely there is.
People like their escapism.
Actually
and they want easy escapism.
How Jesus fucking Christ, that's the I wouldn't call that escapism, I'd call that just fucking boring, because like, hold on, why am I having to fucking participate in this story? This is boring. Yeah,
no, it's escapism because it helps them escape from their boring lives where they have to work a lot and they're tired and they don't want to think about anything. They just want to relax with their hot pot meal and that's it. You know, watch some guy zip around doing magic stuff and not have to think about it.
Unlike you, me, and Nasuth, you know, unlike us, who actually look for story, who actually look for character growth and development and people that earn their power. The vast majority, the lowest common denominator, do not.
Yeah,
I mean,
they want to see is cool person that doesn't have views against theirs do cool stuff. And that's all it is.
One thing that I do find perplexing is because I know that younger generations, I don't think it's necessarily millennials, but I do feel that Gen Z certainly do this, and probably Gen Alpha now. They play video games out of habit as opposed to for entertainment. Like,
sort of the same way people just had TV on all the time, even if they weren't really watching it.
Did you guys do that?
Oh yeah.
No.
All the time. I just had the TV on when I was doing homework, you know, and I'd watch Judge Judy or something after I come home from school, and then do homework during the commercial breaks.
I was too easily distractible. I had to put music on or an audiobook. Otherwise, I would be watching that instead of watching what I'm doing.
See, like, I kind of get with Thaylien on this, because, like, I'll listen to music. Like, I listen to my music, the music that I've listened to God knows how often, and I can just kind of blend in with it and just, like, you know, I don't even know what the fuck I'm listening to.
I'd rather watch TV than listen to music. So when I listen to music, I get too into it. But when I'm watching like some trash TV show in the background, I can just mostly ignore it.
I can watch creative things like, you know, art streams on Twitch and things like that, as long as the person is not too talkative. Right, I've, you know, this is no dig on him, but like, I've tried watching Thor from Pirate Software, right, and he talks too much to his audience. He gauges his audience too much. It's too distracting for me. I can't focus on what the hell I'm trying to do, right? I can watch Star Trek in the background because I've watched it a billion bloody times. I know exactly what's fucking going on. I don't need to pay attention. I remembered the whole thing.
And that's essentially what, you know, when you've got the same isekai essentially being told in a different, you know, in a new package, that's essentially the same thing, is you've seen this all before. You know, you don't have to really pay attention to it. You can have it on and not have to worry about it.
Let's just watch the cool bits of animation and move on.
Exactly.
But I feel that, okay, I can get behind the concept of isekai and stuff because you're not participating, you're just watching, right? You're you know,
you just have to look up when the action music kicks in,
full-blown
and the pretty fights start,
TikTok
and then
brain.
you go back to exactly.
But I don't get it for video games because you actively have to spend effort doing something, and that shocks me.
No, it depends on the video game.
And it depends on how long you've played it. Like, again, with the game that must not be named, I had so many hours in that I could even look away from the screen for a good portion of a level and just, you know, glance at it every now and then to make sure I'm still on the right course. But, you know, I was so good at it at that point.
A perfect example is people that hate play things like Fortnite or Call of Duty, or you see, or Counter-Strike, Valorant. You see so many people hate play games, including the one that shall not be named. That it's just like, why are you still playing it? I don't understand. If you hate it so much, you know, I have a certain someone that shall not be named on my Discord server that hate plays so many games. I don't. Don't you want to be happy?
Turns out many people don't. But I
can hate watch something. I think you could hate play something. It takes less effort to hate watch than to hate play, but I think you can get something similar out of it.
Well, like, so I've very much given up on Western media. Like, I've had people turn and say, "Oh, you should watch this. You should watch Andor." I don't think you can convince me to give Western media another shot. I've just given up so hard. I haven't watched The Rookie in fucking 8 years now.
Oh, well, okay. You liked The Rookie.
I liked The Rookie, right? But I have been burned so damn much by Western media. I can't even think what the last Western thing was that I've watched. Oh, does Devil May Cry count?
It's an animation, so I don't think in that sense, no.
It's an animation, but it's a Western animation, technically.
Maybe the Sonic 3 animation. Movie?
This is where I bring up
January.
Sonic 3 was actually pretty good. I liked it.
Yeah, but that again was back in January.
And it's movie content, isn't it? It's not even... It's an animated movie content rather than actually anything anything specifically live action that's produced in the West.
Yeah.
It's weird, isn't it? Oh, did you
Ash
end
vs.
up
Evil
watching?
Dead.
Did you end up watching the One Piece remake, live action?
Nope.
You didn't? Oh,
Nope.
because that's pretty good.
Anyway,
I'd watch it if I were you.
Should we round up?
Yeah, we've gone to a little bit of a natter on this.
Right. So my personal take on all of this, with fantasy, is it's often an easy go-to for any creator to come up with their narrative.
It's easier to do fantasy than sci-fi in that case because you can just make up anything.
Yeah, I think it's easier consumed by any audience, and I think it's easier picked up by the production studios and things like that. But likewise, there is so much more trash fantasy out there. Sorry, just not good, not well-produced fantasy out there than anything else.
Yes, because it's so easy to do, people think that they can half-ass a story.
Oh.
They can put in an overpowered main character and it will just work out because of that self-insert thing.
I do...
They can...
I want you talked about this being more of a modern audience problem, but I would like to float one last thing, and that is the idea of dime store novels, which is a concept from the 1800s up through the early 1900s, and it was literally
we used to call them penny dreadfuls.
There you go. And or even some of the early serialized movie stuff that, you know, like Lucas got inspiration from some of those old serialized movie shorts that would like appear before a regular feature. I think this is something that has been around for a long time. It's just that it's more noticeable now because there's such a glut of it everywhere.
Oh, it really bloody is.
Anyway, sorry.
And I think it's going to continue getting tropes in its thing. You know, like kicked from the hero's party as a trope.
Reincarnated.
I think there's just going to become seasonal tropes within fantasy as a genre that are going to be waves of good or bad or indifferently attempted versions of it. And I don't think we're ever going to... I think much like anime itself, now that it's so available... and it doesn't have to compete with other shows on TV. You know, you can put it out for streaming services. You can put it out for all the on these niche channels. You just have to fill a time block. You don't have to try as hard to make it compete with the best of the best shows out there. You just have to make it good enough to last a season.
You don't have to worry about getting ad sponsors. You just have to worry about getting subscribers.
But I think
Exactly.
another side of the problem is that when you do what you're suggesting, you can even kill the interest in the original source material.
Oh, for sure.
I know that a lot of people were hyping up the beginning after the end as like the best.
Yes, the battle after the end, yeah.
No, the beginning after the end.
Is it the beginning after it? Okay, yeah. And then the animation just killed it for being slideshow.
But at the same time, it was like, oh, this is beginning after the end is so far superior compared to Mushoku Tensei and shit like this. And like I did start it for a couple of minutes. I'm like, this is such a generic it's like, oh look, super powerful character gets killed and reborn as a kid. I've not seen this at all. Cough cough, misfit of Demon King Academy. Cough cough. Like,
cough, cough. I'm the evil overlord of an intergalactic empire. No, I'm kidding. Sorry.
Yeah, it's the list is endless, but
I know.
Anyway, right? Yeah. So, fantasy. It's really hard to find the good ones.
Yep.
And it's really hard to draw the line of where sci fantasy and regular fantasy really end up being separated.
Yeah, it's a spectrum. You know.
Yep.
Fantasy is
it's
a spectrum.
A rainbow.
Anywho.
And it's fine if it's done well.
Right, should we move on with the rest of the show? Should we move on to the supporter question?
Sure.
Right, I need to zoom in. Okay. Nasuth Taicho asks, "Hey, you. Yes, you. David Mitchell, who lives in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Have you hit that like button yet? Well, now's the perfect time. YouTube prefers you don't do it right at the start anyway, or so they claim." Wait, really? What? Wait, what?
That's what I've heard. That's what I've heard. They want you to watch at least like 10 minutes of something before you like it.
Really?
So what
if it's not 10 minutes long?
Shows that you consume the media.
Fair. Who knows how the damn thing works? Nasuth Taicho also asks, do you think there's actually a David Mitchell who lives in Pittsburgh that's just got really surprised? No.
I really hope there is, because I was pointing and gesturing at the camera massively through the whole thing.
Yes. Hope yes.
Think no.
Actually, no. Alright, reality, no. Nasuth also asks, why does anime insist that the women should boob so breastily always?
Yes.
I think because if you have them not breasting boobily, you get accused of being another type of artist, another type of anime producer.
Okay. Why have you asked 4 questions, Nasuth?
So this last one isn't mine. There was a response from Recuse, which you may or may not want to read. It's from, it's just ProZD copy pasta.
Okay. So, okay, fine, I'm going to read it. Response. Actually, if you watch the show, the boob window on her suit is clearly satirical. It's a meta commentary on human sexuality, and also it serves as a metaphor for how she wants other people to go past her her outer self and look within her true self. It makes sense in context, and also the original mangaka intended an
allusion. Yeah.
Allusion? Okay.
Yes, to allude to things.
Okay. To the final scene of the Grapes of Wrath in the breastfeeding scene. There's a lot of subtlety in play here that is clearly going way over your head. I feel that's the case. I think that's the case with a lot of people, thinking Solo Leveling's so good. Right. Zrul asks, why does Nasuth always when offered the soothe? Always.
Who knows?
Yeah. Okay. Right. What anime embarrassed you the most watching it?
Nausicaa Blitz Tactics.
Yes. Yes, it was. That's exactly
the first one that comes to mind.
Yes. Because you wonder why the fuck you're watching that show.
Mm-hmm. I also get secondhand embarrassment for the
answer for you
animators.
Was, yeah, but the answer for YouTube was, I made you do it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
There's probably a better answer, but that was the first one that came to mind. It was like, so many panty shots. What the hell is going on?
All right. Ryan Couscous plus coffee equals not null asks, why does our Xenogelion see no problems with lions made of gel? Never. Because I got those Xeno eyes.
Mm-hmm.
What anime did you not watch and then got embarrassed when it got good?
Oh, well, for Xeno, it's Solo Leveling. And Eminence and Shadow.
Oh, fuck off. No, you made me watch that. It never got good.
Not season 2, though.
Season 2 never got good.
I've actually got a real answer to this one. Which is Apothecary Diaries.
Oh, you need to. I still need to finish season 2.
I know. I still need to watch
season
it.
2 Solaris. Right. Moving on to the comments from last week. First off, from the news, Strombus Shell says, getting to this one on Saturday. Had a busy week, but thanks for the news. Newsing me up.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Zrugel says, this week in news, Nasuth doesn't tell Xeno they are starting. Joking. Yeah. Is the woman in that Chuhai Lips anime supposed to be looking like Peter Griffin from Family Guy?
I think
yes.
so. Peter Griffin in a skirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. The news shows and manga were pretty interesting. The new shows and manga. Cool, thanks for the news, guys. Right, and then moving on to the cast. Right, so Ricky7 says the good shows are the friends we found along the way. Also, hello, algorithm. Yep. Zrugel says, Kanpai. The anime alignment form made it into the description below. Good job, Nasuth. To be fair, I didn't get it to him until 2 hours before it was due, and Thaylien was the one that put together the example alignment grid. Still no idea why Chobits is in chaotic evil.
Because
I know why.
Still no
evil.
Idea.
I know why.
You've seen it. You've seen it.
I'll pick up Food for the Soul. It sounds good. Yep. I hate when shows feel like the writers forgot what was going on. Sword of the Demon Hunter. Yeah. I think I've given up on that one now. I can't bring myself to finish episode 8. I laughed at Thaylien pointing out pizzle pieces. Thank you. I don't remember.
Absolutely. Pizzle pieces.
I may have to watch How to Become Ordinary. It sounds good. I still never watched season 1.
It's so cerebral.
Actually, I binge watched Zenshu. It was very bad. I never want to watch it ever again. Saying you got terrible. No. It was pretty good, but it left me feeling melancholic afterwards. But still, I was glad I watched it. Poor you. That Ash Ketchum brushing teeth meme made me laugh so hard. That has got to be my favorite of the week, maybe of the month. Thanks for the show, guys. I appreciate you.
It's so weird.
And no, I'm not making it weird. You're good.
Circle, why'd you just make it so weird?
Strombus Charles says, Kanpai Cast, whip out your...
Whip it out. Whip out your prostate.
I don't remember exactly the context, but yes.
That's from Kakashite Makina-san, because she didn't know that that's not a thing that men do.
Yes.
Because she's only found out about naughty stuff from a yaoi manga obsessed best friend.
I was like, that's our new tagline along with Cum Brothers, and it's good if it's done right.
Yep. I have clearly blocked that out. Right. I scrolled down to the description for the whiskey clip and saw "Never Gonna Give You Up" in the songs used section. Spoilers for the memes? ? Oh, fuck you. God damn it.
Speaking of the memes.
Time for the memes.
It is time.
Thaylien, is your fourth one actually spicy? Just before
just a little.
Okay. All right. Cool.
I can't remember mine.
So the memes, we tend to gather most of them from Reddit. Not all of them. Thalien's actually made one of his own this week. We also accept up to 6 viewer memes a week, which you can come to the Discord, linked in the description below, to submit your own in a channel that we don't see beforehand. Well, I technically do because I have to save them, but I'm blind enough that I don't actually see them. And of course, we also archive them all on our website, kanpaicast.com, where again memes are also linked in the description below. Because Reddit likes to delete them, so you can go relive past ones that you enjoyed. And we've actually got a full cast of viewer memes this week, all 6. So let's get into it. Mouse Girl Cheerleader says, someone hit me with their car and I got isekai'd to a world that's really similar to my old one, except in this one, my collarbone is mysteriously broken.
Oh. Brilliant.
Oh, that's good.
Nice. Yep. Nailed it. She got it.
Sorry. So this one is really long. We probably won't be able to listen to all of it because clearly copyrighted music.
I love this one. This is from the old stuff, but I love it.
I'm sure I've seen the whole thing anyway.
I think F and Door sent this to me asking if it was okay. So again, I've seen this one before.
I think everyone has.
Okay, that's enough of that.
Cool.
You get the idea though. Yeah, it's a good one.
Yep.
It's a good one. Go watch the whole thing in the description.
Yeah.
Yep. Things to do today. 1. Wake up. 2. Survive. 3. Go back to sleep.
So true.
Good plan.
Not wrong.
So true.
Good job.
Just had some cookies with milk and thought of you. Held them under the bubbles until the bubbles stop. Oh! Wow!
That long neck scene is so weird.
Oh dear.
Right. And the last viewer meme.
Trying on the gorget, gives her a kiss, and then stomps away because, of course, she's not in love with him. She's dating his sister.
After ramming it down over his body so it covered
Somehow.
past his arm to his side.
That's proper cartoon style.
Yeah. It's good that we had those cartoons earlier in the video meme. Anyway, on to my memes. Oh, I forgot this one was slightly spicy. If you know what that is. If you know what that is.
Yep.
Everyone, this game is for kids. Computer science students. Because of recursive programming. Me avoiding eye contact with my teacher so that she will not ask me questions. Yep. Me, my body pillow, my family.
Okay.
Yeah.
A little risky.
I can't wait for my day off. Me on my day off. So true.
No,
absolutely.
I feel like we've had this one before, but I don't care. It's still accurate.
I don't remember this.
And the last one.
I am here.
All right, on to Thaylien.
He's got happy feet.
Yes, definitely.
The Death Note world of light killed actual criminals like politicians and businessmen instead of petty thieves.
Yeah.
So true. Oops. Back to that.
The Virgin Anime Isekai. The protagonists are just the same personality-less, copy-paste neat, participate in slavery, no added value other than keeping weebs satisfied. Their old life had so little relevance that it might as well not have been a thing at all. The Chad Western Isekai, though. Deeper allegorical and philosophical underpinnings. Protagonists often rely on their intelligence, courage, kindness, perseverance, and friendships they forge to overcome challenges. Actually interesting world-building ideas. Less overt wish fulfillment, a more genuine struggle, and emphasis on the journey home.
What the fuck is the one on the right?
It's probably a Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court or something like that.
Okay. Cool.
This is mine. Band of the Hawk. We ride.
Fuck off.
Good job, Thaylien.
Fucking
This horse did nothing wrong.
This next one is the mildly
Sorry,
spicy
can
one.
I just elaborate? For those who don't know, right? Berserk reference. There you
Yes. Horse that looks like Griffith. What the fuck?
Oh, that's hilarious. No, that's funny. That is so funny. I was not expecting that at all.
Exactly.
Not really the spice I was expecting.
No.
Right.
Time is frozen as I trigger the stopwatch. You won't be able to move or know what's coming next. It's your fault for being so careless while walking down the street like that. Don't worry, I'll be really gentle.
Drags her off from Threat-Goon.
Phew, that was a close one. If I hadn't gotten there just in time, who knows what would have happened. That truck was driving like it wanted to isekai someone.
Oh, that's a nice twist on the usual chicken necktie setup.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Probably could have done with a volume warning, but okay.
No. Oh, starting again. Nope.
Okay, so my first one.
Oh god,
maybe
this
you
one.
should post your maybe you should post your Guna memes into r/hentai memes. Gunas. No, seriously, guys. r/hentai memes has little to no engagement. Gunas. Like, it's the amount of just
crazy
smut that gets posted is stupid.
Especially on animes. Anime memes is slightly tamer, but anime memes is just like just degenerate.
Good anime memes is also like heavily ugh. Anyway.
Yeah.
There's a silly beard on that one.
All right, a couple of cuckoos. This shit is so ass. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
If it's a couple of cuckoos, why are there 3 of them anyway?
4 technically.
Cindy, you accidentally left $1 in my hand.
Keep it.
Why?
I think you know why.
I don't. Why are you winking at me? Why did you give me $1? My brain hurts.
This is why I should never have a sister rating tier list, because everyone's just going to be S tier. You know what? She's got the same energy.
What do you mean everyone's going to be S tier? What does that mean?
I'm an only child, man. I'm just like, just give me like any sibling. Just give me any sibling.
So if it was a brother tier, would you say the same thing, or?
Hell yeah. Fuck yeah.
I'd fuck my brother, yeah.
No.
No.
Oh shoot. Wait, what number was that?
Yeah.
3?
I don't. No. I think that was 4.
That was 4. Let me just. Yeah, that was 4. Okay.
Those people kind of look like demons. Looks like someone knows our history. Step aside, boy. My lord, I'm sensing a mage. Yeah, no fucking shit. No. Can't be. Have you been hiding your mana this entire time? You bitch. Aura, kill yourself. Hey, now. Whoa, if you're gonna say something like that, you have to follow it up with Minecraft or something. That really isn't something to joke about. I wasn't joking. I'll call an attorney.
And your last one. What the are these world leaders? Oh my god,
Yep.
they are. Oh, hang on, I need to send this to some people right now. Well, after it's done playing. I hope that does not get us copyright struck because I could not stop playing it. I could not stop playing it. Oh my god.
Nasuth, you don't show your face, but Xeno and I are getting defenestrated by the Russian government.
It's so true. Oh. That was amazing. That was incredible. That might be the best meme of the week. And if you're listening to the audio podcast and you want to see the best meme of the week,
right? You also had some food ones there. I'm so pleased.
Yep. Right. So that is it for this week. Thanks everyone for watching and or listening on Spotify, and we will see you next week. Now, sign and bottoms up and Kanpai!
Kanpai!